Putin's invasion of Ukraine is a moment in history that quite clearly triggers some major changes in the world order. What those changes will be depends on the outcome of the invasion, and so this is a moment where the unpredictability of the future is obvious. But we can imagine some vaguely plausible alternative scenarios on which to hang our thinking about the future. And the necessity now of this kind of scenario-based thinking reminded me of a short book that I read a few years ago called Four Futures. So I thought, why not do a quick review of the book Four Futures by Peter Frase. Published in 2016, the underlying driver of Frase's book is the observation that our societies are facing two long-term trends that each could give rise to major crises. The first is the spectre of ecological collapse and climate change. The second is the spectre of artificial intelligence and automation reshaping our economies to the point where the majority of people cannot find paid work. For the sake of the book, Frase argues that it's useful to see that there's a spectrum of possible outcomes from the interplay between these two, where at one extreme we may end up living in societies of extreme scarcity if ecological collapse dominates, or we could end up in societies of abundance if automation dominates. This sets up Frase's first axis on which to imagine his four future scenarios. The second axis he explores is between a future of high equality versus high inequality. And in his book, he calls a society with high inequality a society of hierarchy. And of course there are a number of details about how Frase approaches his task that I would quibble with, but not here, as I wish to keep this review brief. So, having set up these two dimensions of understanding how our future societies could evolve, Frase has therefore set up the following grid for the four futures that are implied. If we could navigate to a world of abundance with high equality, then we'd get some kind of fully automated luxury communism that others have written about too. The main problem we'd have here is how to build meaningful, fulfilling lives when so much work has been automated for us by machines. But a world of abundance could also come with a strong hierarchy that maintains inequality, such that the fruits of automation go to a small elite who own the property rights to everything and live in extreme luxury, while the majority of humanity still have to work and pay rent for access to the goods and services that they need. This possible future Frase calls rentism. So how about if scarcity dominates over automation? Here, Frase postulates that a world with scarcity that chooses to insist upon a high degree of equality would require some kind of socialist, organised state to ensure that everyone gets their fair share of whatever little resources remain. The final quadrant is the nightmare scenario, where there is scarcity and a dominating hierarchy that ensures that whatever few resources remain are available only to a small elite who probably have to use extreme violence and coercion to control or simply even kill the much larger population living in poverty. Frase calls this dystopian possibility exterminism. The book obviously explores each of these four scenarios in more detail, and Frase explicitly recognises that what he is doing is a form of social science fiction. And throughout the book, he makes reference to many works of sci-fi that illustrate aspects of the future societies being explored, such as Star Trek and the film Elysium, and this helps make the book easy to read. Frase also nicely links his work to various previous related thinking and recognises that in exploring the extremes of these dimensions, he is taking a knowingly hyperbolic lens into the future. But I enjoyed the exercise Frase goes through as he outlines some plausible implications of these scenarios. Indeed, I think it's essential that we think about the future in terms of imagining a range of plausible scenarios, and from there work backwards to how our choices today can influence which of those scenarios we're making more or less likely to happen. And in this vein, I want to end this review with a quote from the book in which Frase is talking about his motivations for writing the book. He says, "So for me, sketching out multiple futures is an attempt to leave a place for the political and the contingent. My intention is not to claim that one future will automatically appear through the magical working out of technical and ecological factors that appear from outside. Instead, it is to insist that where we end up will be the result of political struggle." And I completely agree with Frase on this, and it's one of my key motivations for making this channel. Of the 4 futures described, clearly a society of equality and abundance is the one to aim for, and choices we make now can influence the chance of us getting there. But what are those choices, and how can we navigate from here to there? These are precisely the kinds of questions I try to explore on this channel. So if you enjoyed this review, then you may also enjoy these related videos. And it would also be great if you could click on the like button below or subscribe to my channel, as that will encourage YouTube to share this video with more people. And have you read 4 Futures? What did you think of it? Please do leave comments below. And thank you for watching.